This presentation is called the National Science Foundation Southwest Sustainability Innovation Engine, Connecting Research to Practice. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers, Marian Rice, Brenda Bowen, Sarah Hinners, and Meghan Dovick. Marian is Associate Director with the University of Utah. Brenda is a professor of geology and geophysics and chair of the atmospheric sciences with the University of Utah. Sarah is a director of conservation and research with Red Butte Garden, and Meghan is director of professional science master's program with the University of Utah. Let's give our presenters a big hand.
Hello, everybody. Good to be back up here. Some of you might have heard me this morning speak a little bit about this project, and now we wanted to share more details about what this is, what we've done to get to this point, and what we are looking forward to in hopefully the coming decade. So I'll just get us started, and then we'll each describe different parts of this exciting project. This project and everything leading up to it is really a fundamental shift in the way the National Science Foundation is thinking about investments in science, technology, innovation, and economic growth. It is very different than anything that's ever come out of the National Science Foundation before. So if any of you are, NSF funded researchers and you kind of know how NSF works, this is not that. It's totally new, and it's really exciting that NSF is a partner on this project. So they are innovating with us, and they're trying new things with everything that we're putting together through this program. But it started with this bipartisan legislation in 2022 that then led to this new directorate, that led to this new program, and 10 engines were awarded. It started at several hundred engine proposals, and we went through multiple stages of review to become finalists and finally get this award, and hopefully up to a $160 million investment in the region over the next 10 years. It comes in increments, so we have to keep showing that we're meeting the goals that we're striving for to continue on over the 10 years. These are the 10 inaugural engines that were awarded across the US, and I wanted to point out that each one is a different theme. Ours is about sustainability because that's what we thought is kind of this most pressing issue and opportunity in the desert southwest of the US. Some of the others that have the closest themes are the Colorado-Wyoming Climate Resilience Engine, and there's some exciting collaborations that could happen across our engines, and then the Great Lakes Water Innovation Engine. But you could imagine the issues around water in the Great Lakes region are very different than the issues around water here in the Southwest. Some of the other engines are around agriculture, aerospace, semiconductor industry, regenerative medicine, so all these different themes. And folks were invited to think about what is the big issue that's also an economic opportunity in your region. And so you can see really how uniquely positioned we are here in the desert Southwest to do this work in partnership with Arizona and Nevada and bringing folks together from Utah. So we call it SWSIE, the Southwest Sustainability Innovation Engine, or you can say the engine. And it really is this network of partners across the region. On this map here that is the outline of those 3 states, you can see some of the core academic partners that have been kind of putting this all together, but we actually have, I think, over 130 partners across the region. Academic institutions, nonprofit, industry, startups, municipalities, state government, federal government, trying to really bring everyone to the table and have these conversations. So our mission is to transform the Southwest, addressing present climate changes, and unleashing economic opportunity through STEM discovery and education around water, energy, and climate. So, and carbon. So I am going to pass it to my colleague, Sarah Hinners, the Director of Conservation and Research at Red Butte Garden, to talk to us more about visioning and where we are in the engine now.
Hey everybody, am I on? All right. Brenda talked about how radically new this approach is on the part of NSF. And I think it's really exciting in for folks who have been working towards sustainability and various aspects of sustainability for decades, I think what we keep coming up against is this sort of that one piecemeal effort will only get you so far, and ultimately what we need is a full-on system change, right? And NSF, I think, is really starting to adopt this more systems level kind of thinking, and it's a much more holistic approach to the role and power of science to change society. And I'll give you a preview, it's not just science. So the vision that we're working towards in SWSIE is, again, across 3 states. So of all the engines Brenda just showed you, this is the biggest one. It's the biggest region, and its scope is the biggest, and it's a little terrifying, honestly, what we're trying to set out to do. We envision a thriving future for the Southwest as a hub of green innovation, with industries and communities supported by renewable energy, affordable water, with STEM-enabled jobs and economic growth accessible to all. Let's take a moment here to think about where we are now. Okay. So to unleash this potential, we're building an ecosystem. And we use this word a lot. We talk a lot about our ecosystem. We are an engine. We're also an ecosystem. And they're not quite they're not the same thing. And we are both. An ecosystem of researchers, innovators, educators, and decision makers to harness STEM innovation and grow a workforce pipeline for the net zero economy. Doesn't that feel good? Let's do it. All right, so more specifically, I'm going to keep getting more and more specific here because right now you guys are like, what is she talking about? Okay, first of all, focus on R&D. So we are interested in innovative, use-inspired R&D. So this is not science for the sake of science. It is science for the sake of solving problems and improving people's lives. Community-driven, collaborative research and development, specifically in the areas of clean energy transitions, water securities, and drawing down atmospheric carbon. 2, ensuring that underserved communities across the region benefit from clean energy, water security, and carbon capture. 3, to nurture innovations into viable enterprises. How many great ideas are out there that get started and just never make it across the finish line? We want to take those good ideas and take them as far as they can go. Prepare a diverse STEM workforce. Innovation is often held up by the fact that there is no workforce to do the work, who know how to do this work. So prepare the workforce for this vision. And finally, the NSF investment is unprecedented on the level of NSF, but on the level of the regional economy, it is nothing. So we need to mobilize other resources and attract other resources to help push all of this work forward. Okay, sounds great. What is it? What is this engine? This is a diagram that was actually produced by the Builder platform, which is a separate NSF project that was funded to create this platform for engines to organize themselves. So these are the components of pretty much all of the NSF engines. So use-inspired research. Then the next step is taking that research into translation and commercialization. So we don't just leave the traditional model of research we call the loading dock model. So you do some research, you have some fantastic results, you write a paragraph at the end of the academic journal paper that you've published that says, this will be very helpful to someone somewhere. And you put it out there and you're like, change, world. So translation and commercialization is to take ideas and research, the next step to put it out there in the world. Workforce development, which Meghan is going to talk about in a minute. Capital and technical assistance. So there will be opportunities as part of the engine that aren't coming out of the R&D pipeline, that are entrepreneurs with great ideas with sustainability solutions, and we can help those guys too. Infrastructure and public policy, sometimes the governance, the regulations, the policies, the laws really don't facilitate the deployment of innovative technologies and practices. So we are looking actively at governance systems and road mapping ways to get to where we need to go, and then just generally ecosystem building and organizing the ecosystem around all of this. I think I have one more and then okay. So we have 7 main strategies that I don't want to read all of them because I want to make sure everybody has enough time. But I'll just give them to you briefly. 1, we convene. So you don't get innovation if you don't bring people together. Bringing people together, sharing ideas. This is obviously not a SWSIE convening, but we all have experienced how amazing the Watershed Symposium is. So we're doing a whole series of convening across the engine. 2, attracting and investing resources. 3, road mapping. So what stands in our way and what do we need to do ahead of time to find the way forward? Something, getting past barriers that no one else is really working on. Matchmaking and problem solving. A community may have a problem and they just need someone to come in and work with them to innovate a solution that works for them. Workforce development, commercialization and small business support, and just building a culture of sustainability so that it's normalized. And here are just a few examples of things that the engine has been doing. We are building on an Arizona State product called the Knowledge Alliance tool that will be region-wide that allows you to plug in and find someone with expertise on an area of interest. We are hosting a long-duration energy storage symposium in early December. Tomorrow morning, up at the University of Utah, we are holding a small focus group on the implications of geothermal energy and carbon sequestration for the subsurface, which again is an area in which governance and regulation is very unclear at this point. It's a sort of a wild west of innovation. And I think we're going to talk more about this last one, which is we just posted a competitive funding request for project pitches that will be offering $100,000 to $250,000 grants to various startups for their innovative ideas. So just some examples of the things that have been going on. And now I'm going to hand it off to Meghan to talk about workforce development.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello. My name is Meghan Dovick. I'm with the University of Utah, as well as I am on the U of U SWSIE leadership. Specifically, I'm co-lead for workforce development. What you see behind me are the articulated aims for SWSIE workforce. And if you read it, it includes things like accelerating our economic growth and sustainability by fostering a diverse and industry-ready workforce. This is going to take everyone, industry partners, community members, and of course, learners. All of this to ensure and prepare the current and future working professionals with the essential skills needed in the areas of energy, water, and carbon. In 10 years, the SWSIE engine workforce aims to achieve 3,000 new learners, 500 new entrepreneurs or companies in the areas of energy, water, and carbon, and 500 shared regional programs. Programs that don't stop at our state lines, but are encouraged to have shared knowledge and accessibility across our region. So how are we going to get there? Well, we have a strategy, And it starts with informed decision making by doing an extensive and diverse workforce landscape analysis. What's going on? By creating new, amplifying existing, and overcoming community barriers to training programs, both in more of an academic setting or school setting, as well as in a community, company, industry setting. As well as creating a resilient workforce ecosystem that will be fed through pipelines and feedback loops that helps to create and meet the workforce demands of today and into the future. An example of how we are thinking about achieving some of these really big aims in workforce is through a partnership approach to training programs. This is where we intentionally bring together the learners, local partners, to help meet the needs of our community and have bigger regional impacts. And this isn't just in a hypothetical space. We are already doing this. Through the University of Utah, we have a program like this, where we are working with graduate students that have professional goals and are looking to get the skills to be employed in the environmental sector. We collaborate with the Nature Conservancy to give us access to their wetland space so that we can help to monitor and analyze what's going on in those engineered wetlands. We then work with Utah Geological Survey and other science professionals, and they come into the field with us, teach our students the skills that they need to one day be themselves. And at the end of a course like this, or of a training approach to this, everyone benefits. We give all the information, polished and analysis to the Nature Conservancy so that they can better help inform the community and their donors to seek additional investment. We give it to UGS so that they can help fill in the gaps of their monitoring, of their data analysis, whatever they need, we give it to them. Using this framework, we're hoping to expand training programs that have really enriching value similar to this. We're always looking for new ways to engage with partners, so if this is appealing, please come find me. Another way that we're trying to kickstart our workforce development is through offering free online platform courses. So right now, through the SWSIE grant, we were able to coordinate, again, that regional shared approach with ASU's Career Catalyst platform. If you haven't stopped at our table today and heard my spiel, hear it now. We are, like I said, kickstarting workforce training. We're trying to bring awareness to our engine. Right now and through the end of the year, we have 31 sustainability identified courses that range normally from, tens of dollars to over $500 for an individual course that you have access to for free. Things that might be of interest to an audience like this: we have international water law, we have wastewater treatment strategies, community resilience courses. You don't have to complete the course by the end of the year. If you register, you will have indefinite access to this course material. So get your own upskilling, start that knowledge share it with people who you think might be of interest. We're trying to open doors right now, and it just starts with an easy opportunity here, is just sign up for some knowledge. So with that, I will hand it over to Marian.
Great. Thank you, Megan. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Well, one thing I want to talk about partners. So as Sarah mentioned, we have over 130 partners, and we're hoping to have more after the symposium. And I won't go over this whole graph because graphs are boring, but you'll notice the majority of the partners are with water. And it's everything from water treatment, ecosystem, atmospheric water harvesting, you name it. So Water Research Foundation and others. I do want to highlight some of our water partners in the state of Utah. And many of these have been on board since, I think, the application process when they were first doing this, such as Cottonwood Heights and Water Research Foundations, Summit Canyon Trust. Some have been coming on, and we'd love to have more partners who feel like they can be part of the engine and contribute to the engine and just really move this ecosystem and mission forward. Some partners, such as Salt Lake City, this includes Salt Lake City Department of Sustainability, Salt Lake City Department of Public Utilities, and others. And eSens is a new one. So we have small partners, nonprofits, larger industry, and corporations and others. So with that, some examples of the projects. We have right now some shovel-ready projects that have already been going on. One is atmospheric water harvesting. Dr. Rao at University of Utah looking at atmospheric water harvesting, especially how could that benefit some already established processes, and such as evaporative extraction on the Great Salt Lake and others. Water, carbon, and hydropower, that's an energy-water nexus. PFAS detection in wastewater. We have researchers who've already looking at instrumentation that could detect PFAS in drinking water, even at the levels of the drinking water standards, which tells you how low that is. So it's very impressive. And they're looking at wastewater, so benefiting more in the Clean Water Act side as well. And riparian, looking at the transition between habitats and the shifting human needs, and looking how can we benefit private and landowners as well, while benefiting and really preserving our riparian habitat. And how to engage and be a SWSIE partner. I'm not going to read these all to you, but again, we have a table there. Our amazing Bryce Nelson has been there at the table all day, so talk to Bryce. There's some QR codes as well. Take that free sustainability training. If you want to help convene, put on a convening, host a SWSIE intern and others. So there's many ways to get involved and be engaged. And with that, we're going to move it over to Q&A and discussion. Thank you.
We know it's been a long day, so it's okay. But surely you have questions, because it's a lot. Anyone?
Okay, so I was curious about, you showed the graph of where you have partnerships. A lot of them are in water. And I wondered if there's, of the ones that are lower down on the bar level, are there ones you're trying to target to develop more partnerships with?
So, and I can pull that graph up real quick. So the partnerships, we have a lot in water, but we also have energy. There's a lot in energy and others, education. And I think it really is just looking at that translation from research into commercialization. How are we going to build that workforce? How are we going to build an economy that is built on sustainability and a sustainable economy? So I don't think we're really trying to target specific things, but also being very strategic on it. There's multiple ways. And Brenda, you want to chime in too?
Yeah, I wanted to chime in too, that I think, one reason we're looking at these three areas is that we don't see them as independent, separate things. And so we thought if we're going to actually have this transformation, we have to think about it together. What are the low energy water solutions and the low water energy solutions, and think about it really holistically. So I think if you imagine your water, carbon, energy Venn diagram, we're really looking for that sweet spot in the middle where we're addressing all of them at the same time and really leveraging those solutions together in both that technology and policy space. So I think even how we've broken them up here, we could split them different ways. So, yeah.
Great question.
So, given the outcome of the last couple of weeks, I'm wondering, what kind of sustainability is built into SWSIE to begin with in terms of political stuff?
I mean, as I said this morning, we are having a lot of hope and doing the work. The legislation that led to this project was, bipartisan support, and I think the focus on economic growth in addition to sustainability gives me hope, but hard to predict what's going to happen into the future.
So how do the different engines communicate with each other as they are scattered around the country? I mean, you are a scattered site, single engine. How do the different engines?
Yeah, no, communication is a big challenge that we're continuing to work on every day. There is, Sarah mentioned the Builder platform. So the National Science Foundation has set up scaffolding for the engines to have supports. And so, for example, I'm part of the inclusive engagement team in SWSIE, and so we've had meetings with all of the other inclusive engagement teams across the engine to talk about things like, well, when there's interesting legislation around that in your state, what do you do when you're crossing state boundaries with different policies across the states? How are you approaching that? So that the NSF has tried to build a lot of this scaffolding, and they have regular, several times a week meetings. I think we could all spend all of our full-time just in meetings for this. And I also want to highlight that all of us have other full-time jobs. And so this is in addition to the work we're doing. And we are, now that the engine's getting more established, there are more full-time staff being hired into the positions who will do more of that regular communication and set a lot of that up. But it is a huge challenge, right? There's so many things happening, but how do you connect and leverage and learn from each other to then leapfrog different things if someone else can find the solution that we can learn from that. So that's a huge challenge that we're working towards all the time. But I think a lot of it is that scaffolding. What else would you say?
I just wanted to comment on the fact, and you actually hinted at this, I think, in your talk this morning, that NSF has not done this before. So that we're figuring it out alongside NSF, which is in itself interesting. So
another innovation right there.
So yeah, as one engine sort of figures out something that seems to work, NSF will be like, oh, cool, let's share this with other engines, and that becomes sort of an expectation. But it is pretty wide open. We are all learning from each other at the same time.
I think another example, even our partners have really connected us. So for example, Idaho National Lab, who we were with quite extensively at the University of Utah, has connected us with Fuel, who we've already connected. So we've been meeting with Fuel as well, which is the engine in Louisiana working strictly on energy. So we've had that connection as well. Even our partners are bringing us together. So this ecosystem has really been growing. It's really a connective tissue, and it's expanding. It's been really exciting to see. And meeting all these different entities in the collaboration has been fantastic. Are there other questions? I have one quick question for the group. Before today, how many people have heard of SWSIE or Southwest Sustainability Innovation Engine? All right, so we do have some folks. All right, so our students, okay. So now I'm hoping after today, everybody can take this out and again expand this message of this amazing ecosystem and how we can all partner together to expand and be a much more sustainable ecosystem moving forward. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Real quick, I want to thank again Salt Lake County Watershed Planning, Lynn Burney, Bob Thompson, everybody for putting this together. This is a huge event, and we call this almost like our family reunion, bringing people together and just really this networking communication. So thank you. It's a lot of work, and I want to give them a big round of applause for everything they do. So thank you.